If you're planning to apply for a green card or adjust your immigration status in 2026, stop what you're doing right now, because what I'm about to tell you could literally add thousands of dollars to your application costs. USCIS just announced massive fee increases starting March 2026, and if you don't know about these changes, you could be caught completely off guard when it's time to file your paperwork. This isn't a rumor or speculation. This is official, and the clock is already ticking. Before we dive into the details, let me ask you something. If I told you that one video could save you over $2,000 in immigration fees, would you hit that subscribe button? Because that's exactly what this video could do for you. Thousands of people will pay more simply because they didn't plan ahead. Don't be one of them. Smash that subscribe button right now and turn on the notification bell so you never miss updates that directly affect your wallet and your immigration journey. This is US Visa Info, your #1 source for the latest and most accurate immigration updates. Today, we're breaking down the new USCIS fee increase that takes effect in March 2026. And I'm going to tell you exactly how much more you'll be paying, which forms are affected, who can still file under the old fees, and, most importantly, the strategic moves you need to make right now to potentially save thousands of dollars. If you watch until the end, you'll know exactly what to do this week to protect yourself from these increases. Missing this information could be the most expensive mistake of your immigration journey. Let me tell you something that most people don't realize until it's too late. USCIS doesn't just increase fees randomly. They do it because they claim processing costs have gone up, technology upgrades are needed, and staffing expenses have increased. But here's what that means for you. Starting March 1st, 2026, filing for a green card through adjustment of status will cost you significantly more than it does right now. We're not talking about a small increase of $50 or $100. We're talking about increases that could range from hundreds to over $1,000 depending on which forms you need to file. The most critical change affects Form I-485, which is the application to register permanent residence or adjust status. This is the main form you file when you're applying for your green card while already in the United States. Right now, the fee for I-485 is $1,340 if you're 14 years old or older. But starting March 2026, that same form will cost you $1,540. That's a $200 increase just for the main application. And that's not even counting the other forms that usually go along with your I-485 package. Here's where it gets important, and you need to pay close attention to this part. Most green card applicants don't just file Form I-485 by itself. You typically need to file several forms together in one package. If you're employment-based, you might need Form I-765 for your work permit and Form I-131 for your travel document. If you're family-based, you might need these same forms plus additional supporting documents. Each of these forms is also seeing fee increases, and when you add them all together, the total cost difference between filing now versus filing after March 2026 becomes massive. Form I-765, the application for employment authorization, currently costs $410. After March 2026, this jumps to $470. That's a $60 increase. Form I-131, the application for travel document, currently costs $590. The new fee will be $630, another $40 increase. Now you might be thinking, $60 here, $40 there. It's not that bad. But when you're filing multiple forms at once, and you might be filing for your spouse and children too, these increases multiply quickly. Let me give you a real example so you understand the full impact. Imagine you're filing for adjustment of status for yourself, and you need a work permit and a travel document. Under current fees, you'd pay $1,340 for I-485, $410 for I-765, and $590 for I-131. That's a total of $2,340. After March 2026, those same three forms would cost $1,540, $470, and $630, for a total of $2,640. That's a $300 increase for just one person. If you're filing for your spouse at the same time, double that increase. If you have children filing with you, the costs keep climbing. Now let's talk about who is affected by these changes and why this matters so much. Whether you're an H-1B visa holder waiting to file your employment-based green card, a spouse of a U.S. citizen preparing your family-based application, or someone who just got their priority date current, these fee increases will hit your wallet hard. This affects everyone who hasn't submitted their application before the March 2026 deadline. And here's the part that nobody is talking about. Once March 1st arrives, there's no going back to the old fees. USCIS doesn't offer grace periods or exceptions just because you were planning to file but didn't make it in time. Quick question. Are you subscribed yet? Because missing updates like this could literally cost you your green card application getting delayed simply because you couldn't afford the higher fees and didn't plan ahead. Hit that subscribe button right now. We post videos like this every single day, breaking down complex immigration changes into simple action steps you can actually use. Don't let algorithm luck decide whether you see critical updates. Subscribe and turn on all notifications. Here's what you need to understand about the timeline. If your documents are ready or almost ready, and you can file before March 1st, 2026, you'll pay the current lower fees. USCIS goes by the date they receive your application, not the date you mail it. This means if you mail your package on February 28th, but they receive it on March 2nd, you'll be charged the new higher fees. They'll send your entire package back and tell you to resubmit with the correct payment. That means more delays, more stress, and ultimately paying more anyway. This is critical because many people underestimate how long it takes to prepare a complete and accurate green card application package. You can't just throw forms together the night before and expect them to be accepted. You need medical exams completed by USCIS-approved civil surgeons, and those appointments can take weeks to schedule. You need passport-style photos taken according to specific requirements. You need original or certified copies of birth certificates, marriage certificates, and divorce decrees, if applicable. You need financial documents proving you meet income requirements if you're the sponsor. You need employment letters, tax returns, pay stubs, and so much more. I'm not saying this to scare you, but you need to hear the reality. People who wait until February 2026 to start gathering documents often find themselves rushing, making mistakes, and sometimes missing the deadline entirely. Then they're forced to pay the higher fees anyway. The smart move is to start preparing now, even if you're not planning to file for another few months. Get your documents in order, schedule your medical exam, and have everything ready so that when you decide to file, you can do it quickly and take advantage of the lower fees if timing works in your favor. Let me tell you about some specific situations where timing becomes even more critical. If you're on an H-1B visa and your priority date just became current, you might be thinking you have plenty of time to file. But remember, priority dates can retrogress, meaning they can move backward. If you wait too long and your priority date is no longer current when you're ready to file, you'll have to wait again. And by the time it becomes current again, you could be stuck paying the higher fees. This is a double hit: longer wait times and higher costs. If you're a spouse of a U.S. citizen, you might think you're safe because immediate relatives always have visas available. That's true, but it doesn't mean you should delay. The longer you wait, the more you risk unexpected life changes that could complicate your application. What if you or your spouse needs to travel for a family emergency? What if there are job changes that affect your financial documentation? What if there are additional policy changes announced later in 2026 that make the process even more complicated? Every month you delay is another month of uncertainty. Pay close attention to this part because it's about more than just the main forms. USCIS is also increasing fees for biometric services. Right now, the biometrics fee is $85, and it's required for most green card applicants. The new fee structure will fold biometrics costs into the main form fees for some applications, but for others, it remains separate and is increasing. You need to check the specific fee schedule for your situation because the way fees are bundled is changing, and it's easy to underpay or overpay if you're not careful. Another change that's flying under the radar is the fee for requesting expedited processing for certain applications. While I-485 doesn't have premium processing, other related forms do, and those fees are also going up. If you're in a situation where you need faster processing and you're willing to pay for it, understand that this luxury is becoming more expensive. The bottom line is that nearly every aspect of the green card application process is going to cost more starting in March 2026. Here's where it gets important for families filing together. When you file as a family unit, meaning a primary applicant plus spouse and children, each person typically needs their own I-485 form. The fees we discussed apply per person. So if you're a family of 4, all adjusting status at the same time, you're looking at potentially over $10,000 in filing fees alone when you include all the associated forms. A $300 increase per person might not sound dramatic, but multiply that by 4 family members, and you're looking at over $1,000 in additional costs just from the fee increase. Now, let's talk about the documentation you need to have ready if you want to beat the deadline. First, you need a completed medical examination on Form I-693. This must be done by a USCIS designated civil surgeon, and the exam must be completed within 60 days of filing your I-485. Many civil surgeons are booked weeks or even months in advance, especially in areas with large immigrant populations. If you wait until January or February 2026 to schedule, you might not get an appointment in time. Call now and get on the schedule. Second, gather all your identity documents. You need a copy of your passport, birth certificate, and, if applicable, marriage certificate and divorce decrees. If any of these documents are not in English, you need certified translations. Translation services can take weeks, especially if you're working with official translation agencies that USCIS prefers. Don't assume you can use Google Translate or ask a bilingual friend to translate. USCIS requires professional translations with certification statements. Third, prepare your financial documents if you're filing as a sponsor or if you need to submit an affidavit of support. This includes 3 years of tax returns, recent pay stubs covering the last 6 months, and employment verification letters. If you're self-employed, you need additional documentation like business tax returns and profit and loss statements. Gathering these documents, especially tax transcripts from the IRS, can take time. The IRS can take weeks to mail transcripts, and if you need to request them online, you need to set up an account which has its own verification process. Fourth, take your passport photos according to USCIS specifications. They need to be taken within 30 days of filing, so don't take them too early. Many people use pharmacy photo services or professional immigration photo services. Make sure you get the right number of photos because if your package is rejected for any reason and you need to resubmit, you'll need fresh photos again. Before we continue, let me tell you something. Last month, thousands of people missed a critical USCIS policy deadline because they weren't subscribed to channels like ours. They found out too late, and it cost them months of delays and thousands in additional expenses. Don't let that be you. If you're getting value from this detailed breakdown, hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell. Drop a comment below telling us where you're watching from and what immigration status you're working toward. We read every single comment and sometimes create videos answering your specific questions. Let's talk about exceptions and special cases, because not everyone's situation is straightforward. If you're a student on an F1 visa who's about to graduate and planning to adjust status through marriage to a US citizen, timing is everything. You need to maintain your student status until you file your I-485, or you need to be in another valid status. If there's even a single day gap where you're out of status before filing, it can complicate your case. Filing before March 2026 with lower fees is great, but only if you're eligible to file. Don't rush and file prematurely just to save money if your case isn't ready. If you're on a conditional green card and you're approaching the 2-year mark, you need to file Form I-751 to remove conditions. This form is also seeing a fee increase. Currently, Form I-751 costs $760. After March 2026, it will cost $810, a $50 increase. If your 2-year anniversary falls before March 2026, you should file within the 90-day window before your conditional green card expires, which means you can still use the lower fee if you file on time. If you're dealing with a medical emergency or a situation where you need to travel urgently and you're in the middle of preparing your application, don't panic and make rushed decisions. It's better to file a complete, accurate application at the higher fee than to file an incomplete application at the lower fee and face rejection. A rejected application means you wasted the filing fee entirely, and you have to start over, paying the full fee again. The few $100s you save in fees isn't worth the risk of rejection. For those of you who are employment-based green card applicants, your employer's attorney usually handles the filing. But you need to have a conversation with your employer and the attorney right now about the fee increase. Some employers pay all immigration fees as part of their sponsorship policy. Others require employees to pay certain fees themselves. If you're responsible for paying your own I-485 fees, you need to budget for this and potentially push your employer to file before March if everything is ready. If your employer pays the fees, they might be more willing to wait, but you should still advocate for filing sooner rather than later to avoid the increase. Here's a common mistake I see people make all the time. They assume that because their priority date is current today, it will still be current in February or March when they're ready to file. Priority dates move around, especially for employment-based categories and certain family-based categories, for applicants from countries with high demand like India, China, Mexico, and the Philippines. If your priority date retrogresses, meaning it moves backward, you can no longer file your I-485 even if you have all your documents ready. Then you're stuck waiting for it to become current again, and by that time, the new fees will be in effect. Another mistake is not keeping copies of everything you submit. When you mail your application to USCIS, always send it via a trackable method like USPS Priority Mail with tracking, or a courier service like FedEx or UPS. Keep copies of every single page you submit, including copies of checks or money orders for fees. If USCIS loses your application or claims they never received it, you need proof that you mailed it and what you included. This happens more often than you'd think, and without copies, you have no recourse. Don't make the mistake of paying fees incorrectly. USCIS is very particular about payment methods. Personal checks, money orders, and cashier's checks are generally accepted, but they must be made payable to U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Write your name and form number on the check. If you're filing multiple forms, you can usually submit one check for the total amount, but check the specific instructions for your forms. Incorrect payment is one of the top reasons applications get rejected and sent back. Never assume that filing fees are the only costs you'll face. You also need to budget for the medical exam, which can cost anywhere from $100 to $500 depending on your location and whether you need vaccinations. You need to budget for photocopies, mailing costs, photos, translations, and potentially attorney fees if you're using a lawyer. When you add everything together, the total cost of a green card application can easily exceed $3,000 per person, and that's before the fee increases. I see people make the mistake of not reviewing their application before mailing it. Simple errors like forgetting to sign a form, leaving a required field blank, or not including a required document are grounds for rejection. USCIS will send your entire package back, and you'll have to fix the errors and resubmit with a new fee if the fee structure has changed by then. Spend an extra day reviewing everything multiple times, or have someone else review it with you. Catch errors before USCIS does. Here's what the timeline looks like if you're planning to file before the March 2026 deadline. If it's currently early in 2026 and you're watching this video, you have a few weeks to 2 months to get everything together. Start today by scheduling your medical exam. Contact a USCIS-approved civil surgeon in your area immediately. While you're waiting for that appointment, gather all your documents. Request tax transcripts from the IRS now because they can take up to 2 weeks to arrive by mail. Get certified copies of birth certificates and marriage certificates if you don't already have them. If you need translations, send documents to a translation service this week. Once you have your medical exam completed, which should be within 60 days of filing, take your passport photos. Then sit down and carefully complete all your forms. Use the current versions of the forms available on the USCIS website. Double-check every answer, every signature, and every date. Prepare your payment and make copies of everything. Mail your package via a trackable method at least 1 week before March 1st to ensure USCIS receives it before the deadline. If you're cutting it close to the deadline, consider using overnight or 2-day shipping to guarantee arrival before March 1st. What can you expect after you file? USCIS will send you a receipt notice, usually within 2 to 4 weeks of receiving your application. This notice will have a receipt number that you can use to track your case online. After that, you'll wait for a biometrics appointment notice, which typically comes within a few weeks to a few months. At the biometrics appointment, they'll take your fingerprints and photos. Then you wait for an interview notice. Interview wait times vary dramatically based on your local field office. Some offices schedule interviews within a few months, while others have backlogs stretching over a year or more. During this waiting period, your case could face additional scrutiny and requests for evidence. USCIS might ask for updated financial documents, additional proof of relationship if you're filing a family-based petition, or clarification on any aspect of your application. Respond to these requests promptly and completely. Missing a deadline for responding to a request for evidence can result in denial of your entire application. Immigration officers will review your entire history, including previous visa applications, entries and exits from the United States, and any interactions with law enforcement. They have access to databases that include information from CBP, the IRS, Social Security Administration, and other government agencies. If you're getting value from this video, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. We post daily updates that could save you thousands of dollars in legal fees and months of delays. We break down every USCIS policy memo, every fee change, every processing time update, and every important deadline. Join our community of over 15,000 immigrants who stay informed. Subscribe now and drop a comment telling us what your biggest concern is about the fee increase. Here's the best case scenario. You file before March 2026 with the lower fees, your application is complete and accurate, you get a quick interview date, and you're approved within 6 months to a year. You saved hundreds of dollars in fees, and you're now a lawful permanent resident. Here's the worst case scenario. You wait too long, you're forced to file with the higher fees, your application has errors and gets rejected, you have to resubmit and wait even longer, and you end up spending significantly more money and facing delays of years. The difference between these two scenarios often comes down to preparation and timing. Looking ahead, the March 2026 fee increase is just one change in a series of ongoing immigration policy adjustments. USCIS reviews and adjusts fees every few years, and the trend has consistently been upward. In addition to fees, we're seeing increased scrutiny on all types of applications, more requests for evidence, and longer processing times. The immigration system is becoming more complex and more expensive to navigate. Staying informed is no longer optional. It's essential for protecting your immigration journey and your financial investment. There are also discussions about potential changes to green card processing procedures, possible shifts in priority date movement, and adjustments to how USCIS handles certain categories of applications. None of these are finalized yet, but they're on the horizon. We're also seeing proposals for changes to public charge rules, updates to employment authorization document policies, and potential modifications to how advance parole is processed. Each of these changes could impact your application timeline and cost. If you're serious about your immigration journey, you need to stay plugged into reliable sources of information that break down these changes as soon as they're announced. Let me summarize the 3 key takeaways you need to remember from this video. First, USCIS fees are increasing in March 2026, and if you're planning to file for a green card, you could pay hundreds to over $1,000 more if you file after the deadline. The increases affect Form I-485, Form I-765, Form I-131, and several other commonly filed forms. For families filing together, these increases can add up to thousands of extra dollars. Second, preparation takes time, and you need to start now if you want any chance of filing before March 1st. Schedule medical exams immediately because civil surgeons get booked up fast. Gather all your documents including birth certificates, marriage certificates, tax returns, and employment letters. Request IRS tax transcripts now because they take weeks to arrive. Get certified translations of any foreign language documents. Don't wait until February to start this process, or you'll run out of time. Third, filing with incorrect or incomplete information just to beat the deadline will backfire. It's better to file a complete application at the higher fee than a rushed, rejected application at the lower fee. USCIS will reject incomplete applications and send them back, forcing you to pay again. Take the time to review every form, every signature, every document. Make sure you're actually eligible to file before you submit. If your priority date isn't current, if you're out of status, or if you're missing critical eligibility requirements, waiting and filing correctly is better than rushing and facing denial. Here's my final urgent reminder. Mark your calendar right now for March 1st, 2026. That's the day everything changes. If you're anywhere close to being ready to file your green card application, push to get it done before that date. Work with your attorney, talk to your employer if it's employment-based, and prioritize getting your documents together. Every week you delay is one less week you have to prepare. Don't be the person who realizes in late February that you needed 3 more weeks to get everything ready. Start today. Call the civil surgeon today. Request your tax transcripts today. Order certified copies of your vital documents today. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video with any immigrant who needs to know this information. Your friend, your coworker, your family member who's going through the green card process, they all need to hear about this fee increase before it's too late. Send them this video right now. Together, we can make sure our community stays informed and isn't caught off guard by changes like this. The more people who know about this deadline, the more people can take action and save money. Stay informed, stay compliant, and remember, your dream is possible if you follow the rules. Don't let a fee increase discourage you from pursuing your green card. Yes, it costs more, but the value of permanent residence in the United States is worth far more than the fees you'll pay. Plan ahead, budget accordingly, and take action now. Your future self will thank you for being proactive instead of reactive. This is US Visa Info, keeping you updated every single day.